Hey guys, it is Spooky Noodles, and I have a book review. Yeah, this one actually was a pretty good book. Before I get started with my review, it's gonna seem like a bad review, but it not all. It was a good book. I just have been reading some great books lately, so my apologies if this comes off as a bad review. As in, like, I mean, every review I do is bad, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't mean to say, like, put this book down in any way, shape, or form. I just, like, I had some issues, and they're not big issues. Well, maybe some are. I'll get into them later, but I enjoyed the book. I listened to it on audiobook, but I do have a copy of the book because I like to buy copies of the books because I intend to read them later on, you know, because this is not going to be the first time I read a bunch of coming-of-age novels, alright? Let's just be honest with ourselves. That's my favorite genre, or subgenre. So I just adore coming-of-age, or COA as some people say. But yeah. This is Ghoul by Brian Keene. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right. It could be something else, but it looks like Keene, so I'm going with Keene. Let me read the back. I don't usually read the backs to books, but it might refresh my mind a little bit. And I really should probably start reading the backs of the books, you know, anyways. So here we go. June 1984. Oh, this book starts off in the 80s, or not starts off, but it takes place in the 80s. So that was really cool. All right, let me continue. June 1984. Timmy Greco is looking forward to summer vacation, taking it easy and hanging out with his best buddies. All right, I added best in there. My bad. Instead, his summer will be filled with terror and a life-and-death battle against a nightmarish creature that few will believe even exists. Timmy has learned that the person who's been unearthing fresh graves in the cemetery isn't a person at all. It's a thing, and it's after Timmy and his friends. If Timmy hopes to live to see September, he'll have to escape the Ghoul. So, this book was, let's see here, 322 pages long. And I listened to the audiobook, and it was really good, but I did have some, like, beefs about it. Like, some things that seemed like maybe they were a little bit unnecessary. Like, for instance, like, let me try to bring up something without ruining the book. There is a unnecessary romantic relationship with the main character and this one girl that just kind of pops out of nowhere. It is mentioned near the beginning of the book that he keeps, like, a note from her, from class or something like that. And then it doesn't talk about her at all. Then all of a sudden she pops up and she's just the love interest that we did not need. You know, the book could have gone without her. She was not necessary in any shape or form. The only big thing about her was that her sister was kidnapped. Well, she's missing, but she's really got kidnapped by the Ghoul. That's not a spoiler. It happens and very early in the book, so I'm not ruining the book for you. I'm sorry if you think I did. But yeah, it's I did not need the romantic relationship or the damsel in distress, I guess you could say. She wasn't a damsel in distress at all, because once she was introduced, she kind of never came back. And she was just something that the main character was like, well, I have to stay in town because I have a girlfriend now. It's like, you just met her, kinda, you know? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we were just introduced to her, you know? It was very unneeded, the romantic relationship. The romantic relationship there. Very unneeded. I can't talk about the scenes I liked without giving the book away. But there is one scene where the monster kills somebody, and the reveal was, I feel like the reveal for it, the kill, could have been better, because it went to the monster's perspective, and he just flat out says that he killed him, you know, and I feel like if that scene wasn't there, the reveal that he killed someone, I'm not saying who, it would have been better. So I think he missed an opportunity by adding too much, you know? And I think this book adds too much at times. I feel like this could have been a shorter book. I mean, I still liked it, you know? I enjoyed it a lot because I love COAs, and this might just be because I recently read some of the best COAs there are. Like, I read Boy's Life, I read Summer of Night, I read The Traveling Vampire Show, and I read, there was one more, I can't remember what it was at the moment. And now I'm currently reading Ronald Kelly's Fear, which, by the way, fan-freaking-tastic so far. Oh, I'm only 80 pages into a 442-page book, I think. And it's great so far. But we're talking about Ghoul here. And Ghoul, like I said, very, very good book. I feel like my least favorite character was the fat kid, and there was really no other way to really say who he was. I could say that he was being abused, sexually abused by his mother, which felt awkward, you know, but I understood that, and I know it happens, so I don't know why I felt awkward reading it. Like, I know that's what he probably intended for his audience to feel like, but I don't know, something just felt off. Like I feel like he could have done a better job, you know, because even at the end when they do their, when he goes back to the town, I'm looking for the last chapter here. Oh no, hold on. Here it is. Yeah, anyways, it's in the epilogue. The epilogue, Timmy, or now referred to as Tim, goes back to his old town and meets his friend, and they talk. And they never talk about what transpires with their fat friend and his mother and stuff like that. Like, maybe I missed it because I was listening to it on audiobook, but from my knowledge, he never really, the epilogue doesn't do justice to the story that was just told, and the epilogue probably was not needed at all. It just felt like filler, but that might just be my opinion. Again, I give this book 3 stars. And that's not a bad rating for me, because 3 stars is the average for books I like. 4 stars are books that were great, and then 5 stars are my favorite books of all time. Like Boy's Life, Summer of Night is 4 stars, Boy's Life was 5 stars, Traveling Vampire Show was 5 stars, and so far, Fear by Ronald Kelly is a 5-star book. So, but I just felt like there was unneeded things, and half the time I felt like there was something missing. But as the book continued, that feeling of missingness, I guess you could say, kind of expired. Like it wasn't there after a while. I felt like there was stuff there, and I understood everything better. You know, it was a fun book. It was a fun book. But like I said, my favorite scene was kind of ruined by the monster basically flat out. I don't think like seeing the monster's perspective, it was cool at first, you know, when he revealed himself to what's his name, Timmy's friend's dad, Barry. I think his name was Barry. Barry's dad was, you know, the ghoul revealed himself to Barry's dad, and you get like the backstory of the monster, and that was pretty cool, you know. But then later on, it brought his perspective again, and it felt unneeded. And yeah, it kind of just ruined my favorite scene. It was still my favorite scene in the whole darn book because it was gruesome. It was everything I wanted in a book, you know, in a scene, I should say. And yeah, it was. I'm impressed by Brian Keene's writing, even though I had problems at times where there was filler, there was unneeded romance. And when I say unneeded romance, I'm not talking like there was like a romantic scene or anything like that. I just meant like the love interest was not needed at all. You know, it could have been done without. She could have been a friend that he had a long time ago, and his sister. Oh, I know that girl who's missing. You know, that's my friend's. No, I don't know. I don't know how. I just feel like it wasn't needed. But Brian Keene definitely is a good writer. I mean, I think lots of people are good writers because they can write a book, you know, and I've been struggling to write my own book. So, you know, I think anyone who can finish a book is pretty awesome. And Brian Keene did a really good job, you know, writing a, how do I say this? A coming of age story is what I'm trying to say. That takes place in the 80s, which was really cool. I wish I got more, like, I wish I felt more there, if that makes any sense. Whoops. Like, I wish he would talk more about the 80s a little bit more. I mean, he did a good job. He talked about arcades and stuff like that, I think, at one point, a little bit. They talked about, I think, the Atari, I think, once, which is pretty cool, but I didn't necessarily get the feel like it was in the 80s, like, you know what I mean? Like, Dan Simmons and Boy's Life did a fantastic job, like, making you feel like you were in the 60s, you know, or 50s, or whenever those books took place, because, like, I don't know, maybe the 80s are hard to talk about, you know, maybe it's hard to have a book take place in the 80s. I wouldn't know. This is the only book I've read that takes place in the 80s. But I just felt, I felt like this was just a common age story, like it could have happened in the 2000s, you know. But I didn't get that nostalgic feeling of reading a book from about the 80s, you know. So I feel like he could have done a little better talking about the what do you call it? The scenery, I guess. I'm trying to think of words, and they're not coming to my head at the moment. I just feel like he could have been. I feel like this is a good book, but it could have been a great book. You know what I'm trying to say? Without the unnecessary love interest, without the monster's perspective. I mean, the one perspective from the monster was cool, don't get me wrong, but the later on when we came back to the monster's perspective, it was not needed. I wish... I don't know what else to say, really. Oh, and yeah, the scene. I wish we got more of the you know, words. Sorry, guys. I'm really bad with words. I just wish we got more, like, I wanted to feel like I was in the 80s, and I didn't feel like I was necessarily in the 80s, and I don't think, I'm not knocking the book for that. That might just be me. I just feel like it could, like, I like the book a lot, you know. I just feel like it could have been better. It could have been a 4-star, possibly 5-star book, you know, if he did better and left stuff out, you know, like the stuff that could have been left out and the stuff that could have been put in, you know, are, yeah. But that's Ghoul by Brian Keene. Tell me what you guys thought about this book. What did you rate this book? What's your coming of age TBR? What's your TBR? You know? I personally dig this book. I just feel like it could have been better. And I hope the author doesn't hate me for this review. I feel like it could have been better. It was a good story though. I enjoyed reading it, or well, listening to it. And yeah, tell me your opinions on Ghoul by Brian Keene. I am thinking about checking out other books by Brian Keene because this wasn't a bad book. You know, it was a good book. And like I said, this review is going to make it sound like I didn't really care for the book. But I did care for the book. I liked it. I just wish it could have been better. And I have The Rising by Brian Keene and City of the Dead by Brian Keene. So I might have flipped those. It might be the opposite order, but I bought them for my book swap partner, but I actually decided maybe to keep them. I also hear Dead Sea is a part of it, and it's a possible maybe trilogy. Like the 3 books possibly go together. And it's zombie books, and I haven't read a zombie book yet, surprisingly. So I'm looking forward to reading them when I'm in a zombie mood, you know? Like Ronald Kelly has a zombie book called Buzzard Zone, and it looks great. So if I do a zombie TBR, I'm starting with Ronald Kelly. But I will go and read Brian Keene as well. And then there's Sean Hudson. He has, I think, no, he doesn't have a zombie book, I don't think. He has a slug book, which, we're not talking about Sean Hudson here. We're talking about Ghoul, you know? So I've kind of gone off on a little tangent, and I apologize. I apologize to the author if he thinks this is a negative review. This is not a negative review at all. I enjoyed the book. I just feel like it could have been better. And that's not a bad thing, you know? Like, how do I put this? If my book was good, someone thought my book was good, but think they could have done better, I would love to hear why, because then I could do better next time I do a coming-of-age novel. But that's just me. I don't know what Brian Keene is like, so I just hate making bad reviews, or at least when people think I make bad reviews about books. Like, I'm going to have a bad review for Bite by Richard Lehman, and that stinks because I love Richard Lehman. He made my favorite book, The Traveling Vampire Show, although Fear might be taking that spot. I'm just saying right now, I'm in love with Fear. Like, that sounds weird, but you know what I mean. But again, I'm not on task here. We're talking about Ghoul. And yeah. And oh, by the way, this cover is great. I love this cover. I wish there was like a glow to his hand, because in the book he has like this slime that comes out of his pores, and it makes it translucent, or not translucent. It illuminates his body, and it makes it glow. So I wish that the cover showed that a little better. But it's a good cover. I love the cover. Actually, he has some pretty good covers. This book's actually in pretty good condition. It's been read, so it has a little bit of a spine crease. And there's the back. I already read the back for you guys, but if you missed it and skipped it, here it is, the back. Anyways, that's Ghoul by Brian Keene. I dig the book. I give it 3 stars, though. Tell me what you thought about the book. I did enjoy it. Like I said, I want to like staple that in your minds that this was not a negative review. This is just what I thought about the book. Okay. I appreciate you guys watching this this video, and I can't wait to make more book review videos. Now, why I keep having, I just want to make a disclaimer, I guess. I'll put the book down. One of the reasons why you keep seeing audiobook reviews is because I have more time for audiobooks than I do actually reading books. And you get more in-depth reviews when I actually read the books. So I do apologize if these seem short. This one's not a short one, but that's because I have issues. Not issues per se, but I had notes, I guess, that the author could do better. Anyways, like I said, like Summer of Night I think was like a 4-minute review, and that's because I listened to it on audio, and of course my coworker kept talking to me near the end of the audiobook, so I totally did not know what I was talking about. I was talking on my ass in that review. And yeah. But this one this is fresh in my mind, you know. Summer of Night, I reviewed it halfway through this audiobook, so yeah, I apologize for that. Crummy review. Maybe I'll reread the book and I will redo a review. You know, I am young, so these are my first time reading these books, but I enjoy reading a lot. And once you buy an audiobook, you can't unbuy an audiobook. So I always will have this audiobook if I want to go back to it. And by the way, dude was a great narrator for this audiobook. Like, I feel like I've only buy good audiobooks because I listen to what they sound like, and I'm like hesitant to buy some audiobooks like Shadowland by Peter Straub. I'm a little hesitant to buy and stuff like that. So, but oh, what am I talking about? Brian Keene's Ghoul had a great narrator. I don't remember his name at the moment. I think it starts with a C. I'm not sure though. But he had a great narrator narrate this book. Like, he had a good voice for Doug, I think his name was. Fat kid. Sorry. That's all I know him by, is the fat kid with mommy issues. Then there was Barry. He had a good voice for Barry. He kind of sounded like an adult. And then when he grew up, he sounded like his dad, and that was kind of cool. But the narrator did a fantastic job. I just wanted to quickly talk about the audiobook there, you know. But again, I already said the outro, but I'll say it again. This has been Spooky Noodles, and I hope you enjoy this review. And I hope you guys have a spooky night. Alright, guys? Alright, guys. Bye, guys.